This week on Previews World Weekly, Neil Gaiman Gets Catty, we take a look at your nerdy top 5, and the folks from Mad Cave Studios join us to discuss their new releases coming to your local comic shop. It's all happening right now on Previews World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, aka the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, with your weekly reminder. Free Comic Book Day is coming to comic shops this year on Saturday, August 14th. We're under 75 days now, so it's coming up quickly. You can head to freecomicbookday.com to see the full list.
Cool. Hey, Ashton.
Hey, Troy.
Do you know what NO spells?
No.
Ah, dang! I can't get anybody with this joke. I saw it work once, and it just never lands. Okay, I'm just gonna stop. I was gonna try to trick you. The joke is do you know what NO spells? And then someone says no, and then you're like, and someone says yes, and you're like, no, it spells no. But that just landed like a pair of Simmons shoes under the bottom of the river. I'm just gonna let it go.
Though? I felt like I was getting set up,
so you just preemptively just kind of swerved. I understand that. That's fair. Should have practiced that, but it wouldn't have been the same if if it wasn't genuine. So Ashton's just too smart, guys. Ashton's just too smart. Hey, also I want to point out something real quick. Oh yeah, follow, and subscribe. And I won't tell dad jokes all the entire hour because we have some great guests on here, and they're very smart, clever people. So they'll do the heavy lifting, and I'll just stay quiet. Probably not. That's probably not true, but that's not gonna happen. But yeah, we're throwing out the save the date announcement for Pullbox, letting people know, hey, June 7th, next week, it's going live to consumers. And I'm looking in our DMs over here, right? And I've got Greg Pak, he's talking about it. I got Behemoth Comics, they're talking about it. So yeah, we're making some movement here. People are interested, people are excited, and I'm excited for you guys because I've been working on this for a while. Ash has been helping me work on this, and yeah, it's going to be able to put the power of consuming in the hands of the fans. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. There's going to be a bunch of announcements, some reminders throughout the week as well. So just stay tuned. And if you're curious right now, you can go to PREVIEWSworld.com/pullbox. and find out a little bit more, just a little bit. No big promises, just a little bit more until June 7th. All right, let's introduce this week's guests, right? So I'm excited. We got Manny Castellanos and Chris Hernandez of Mad Cave Studios. What's up, guys?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So before we get into all the nonsense that's going to go on for the next hour, right? What can you guys tell us about Mad Cave before we get horribly distracted like we always do every week?
Chris has been here the longest, so I'll let him.
Oh, just going to throw it at me. Yeah, so what can I tell you about Mad Cave? We're like a small group. We're a lot like a family. And basically we've been around for about 4 years now. And little by little, we've been pumping out comics more and more. And, every year we've seen growth. Every year we've seen a lot of praise, more and more fans. We're missing the cons, but we're really excited to get back to talking to the fans and spreading the Mad Cave word. Basically, you're going to find out a lot more about us in the next hour, hopefully. And it's nice to be on, guys.
All right, cool. Now, you guys, I mentioned to Ashton earlier this week, I think I met both of you in Las Vegas when we had the retailer summit a few years back, before the end times, before things that went dark in the world.
When those were a thing.
Right. It was really cool to meet you guys, and you guys have a great lineup, and we're definitely going to find out more about this, about your lineup starting right now. We're going to jump into what's at comic shops, and we're going to give our picks for this week. And you guys are going to put us on to some Mad Cave game. Ready?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's do it. Here's what's at comic shops. All right, so I will openly admit that I'm woefully unprepared for this week's What's at Comic Shops. In that, I'm going to pick Deadly Class. The new issue of Deadly Class is out this week. The only catch is I didn't read issue 45 that came out the month before. But I am stockpiling these. I love this book. I actually literally have number 45 here, so you guys can't call me a poser. I actually got a lot of stuff here. This is ridiculous.
Who would do that?
What? I mean, you look, it's comics. It happens. See, I actually have it, guys. I swear to God. I just haven't read it. I'll probably read it today, actually, because nothing quite like being reminded that you're behind to like want to play catch up. But yeah, it's I love Deadly Class. I think it's a cool book. We did a great book club episode of The Panel where we talked about it in detail. So I don't need to hard sell it. If you get a chance, don't jump this show and go watch that. But afterwards, go check out our The Panel Deadly Class where I hang out with Louis Stardust and Anna Mia, and we talk about it for an hour. The book has jumped forward to the 90s. For those of you who are not familiar with the book, the last 44 issues have been primarily in the 80s. And now they're jumping forward to the 90s, and which means also there's going to be a huge age jump for some of these characters. So I'm interested to see if they have matured, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun for this book, because part of the book's appeal is that like these characters are woefully immature and deadly and dangerous at the same time. But yeah, check that out. It's Deadly Class, number 46. That's in comic shops today from Image Comics. Ashton, what are you picking up this week?
Okay, great. So I always am looking for something new, something different. I'm always looking for, a new trade or a new number one to just try out new things, right? So this week I'm picking The City of Belgium. It's from Drawn and Quarterly. First thing I have to say out of the gate is the cover art on this immediately caught my eye. This is beautiful, colorful. I love colors, so that is the first thing that caught my eye. To give a little bit of background on this, it is on the backdrop of Belgium, and it centers on three strangers who kind of converge with each other in this popular restaurant in the heart of Belgium. And so Jonah kind of sits at the center of all this. He's getting ready to move to Berlin, and he wants to have one last night out on the town, but all of his friends blow him off. They're like, man, we're not doing that. Doesn't sound like a good time. So he kind of like meets up with these other two strangers, Victoria, who's like your lively, energetic, bubbly girl that kind of feels weighed down by her friends who think she's a hot mess. And then Rodolphe, who's kind of in the misery business, but also trying to front like he's a good time. And so it kind of follows these three characters in sort of like a anthology type story, anthology type narrative. And they're all on like running this razor thin line of like this lucid dream type beautiful life, but also it crumbling underneath their feet. So I think it could be really interesting. I love the idea of it being kind of like I love the razor thin idea of like it could go one way or the other. So I'm interested to see how this plays out.
Okay, cool. Actually, that cover is actually pretty mesmerizing. Actually, that's actually a really great cover. I wish we'd gotten some interior art so we can actually take a little deeper look at Brecht Evans' artwork there. But that cover is impressive. So cool. Shout out to Drawn and Quarterly. All right. So unfortunately, there are no Mad Cave titles out this week, unless I'm mistaken, right?
There is actually one out.
There's one out this week. Okay.
Yeah, it's a trade paperback called Terminal Punks. And
okay, there you go.
It's one of our most outrageous books, I'd say. We're following four band members, right? Four punks, and they're on a plane to go to the battle. And something happens, and mutated animals are have invaded the terminal airport, and they're stuck with them. And it becomes like a wacky survival story, very much like an Adult Swim comedy. And just these kids get into like wild hijinks. There's a cover, as you can see. Each issue cover is actually an homage to like a classic rock album.
Okay, cool. Hence the punks like in the theme. Okay, cool, awesome. What else can you guys tell us about what's available, or at least upcoming new releases from Mad Cave that people should keep an eye out? I know the new previews catalog just dropped fairly recently, and there's a bunch of Mad Cave stuff in there that I'm curious about. So what can you tell us?
Actually, what I'm really looking forward to is in the new previews catalog is Honor and Curse Volume 2. It's kind of like the midpoint of our story. In a sense, it's like a little bit like The Empire Strikes Back. If you guys have been following along, everything's kind of been slowly building up for like a really big ending. Actually, issue 12 is out. I forget which day this month. You guys will kill me, but I know it's this month. So that ending is about to be let out into the world. And then the trade is coming out in August where you can get everything and get all caught up.
All right, cool. And actually, I got you. That the trade's in August 25th, and it looks like June 30th, Honor and Curse number 12 is dropping. So there you go. All right, cool. So actually, we want to find out a little bit more about you guys. You guys have been a little bit too quiet, so I'm gonna fork it over to Ashton. She's gonna grill you for a couple of minutes here. You ready?
Go ahead.
All right. Are you muted?
I was muted for some reason.
Okay.
My bad. And now I've lost my questions. This is going great. All right. So, Chris, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the mission statement behind Mad Cave and some of the stories you guys write?
Sure. So my favorite way to put it is kind of like we're driven by madness. We kind of gravitate towards certain stories. Mark London and Chris Sanchez and I, we kind of usually get together and like throw around ideas, and we find something that clicks, find something that, you know, people can really gravitate towards, but then we put our own mad spin on it. You could take our most recent book, Nottingham, for example, as a perfect example. It's Robin Hood, but we kind of put our own noir take on it. And from there, you know, we handed off to David and Shane. We trusted implicitly, and they proved us totally right.
That's always good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So kind of to expand on that, Manny, tell us a little bit about like some of the genres. What are kind of like those high level words you would use for readers to pick something out?
It's hard to choose one genre to describe Mad Cave, because the whole thing about it's like it's a mad twist on like classic stories. So we have a lot of sci-fi stories. We got a lot of like, you know, a little bit of horror vibes going on with Woven Heart. It's hard to just pick one genre to describe us, but
we'll throw out a couple then. Don't limit yourself.
I would say sci-fi and fantasy would be our two biggest genres. Yeah. And really kind of like, you know, sci-fi from, you know, you have some cerebral stuff like Stargazer to some of the more lighthearted stuff of They Fell from the Sky, which is also available for pre-order.
All right.
Okay. So talk a little bit more about what titles you have that are out now, because you mentioned some things that are coming, but I know you guys already have a lot of stuff out. I've mentioned on here before Knights of the Golden Sun, which sounded super cool, super badass. So what is that, and what are some of the other titles fans can get their hands on?
Yeah, so Knights of the Golden Sun is like our biblical epic. It kind of like takes place between the Old and New Testament of the Bible, and follows like, you know, the archangels on a quest to find like the armor of God, and to stop Lucifer on like his quest to like basically take over the earth. And it's really just like it was the first Mad Cave title I read, and I was really just like blown away by it. And yeah, there's a cover for issue 14. Yeah, it's right now I believe we're on issue 12. So yeah, it's been a really, really fun book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know it caught my eye at one time because the whole biblical epic idea is so unique. All right, so Chris, coming over to you, I feel required to, as the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day. Mad Cave Studios is in Free Comic Book Day this year with Bountiful Garden #1. So tell us more about that.
So actually, Lending from Manny, it's another sci-fi story, but it's more of an atmospheric sci-fi horror story. Think Alien meets, I don't want to say Stand By Me exactly, just because it's like a group of younger kids. Well, they're a little older than that, but these kids get stranded on a planet. They have no idea why they stopped. They were taken out of cryo freeze about 10 years too early, if I'm not mistaken. So from that point on, they have to figure out why they're stopped and how, if at all, they can get their ship going. So half the team basically splits off to check out what's on the ground, and the other half stays behind to fix the ship. And from there, it's kind of like two divergent stories that ultimately come back, and everything comes to a head in the last issue when they, I don't want to spoil too much, because there's a lot of little twists and turns in that book. And if you know the book, there's no pun intended on that twist and turns comment. But it's a dark book. It's written by Ivan Noel Weir. Giorgio Spalletta did the art, and it's actually being edited by Steams, great editor. And we're really excited to get that book out. We're really excited to be part of the Free Comic Book Day program, obviously, but especially to do so with such an awesome book. And now that I'm looking at the cover, it reminds me that the Free Comic Book Day version has a special cover by Andrea Muti, who's currently doing some work like on Maniac of New York, and I forget the name of the other title, but it's a bunny mask, and it's awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so Of course, you can get that at your local participating comic shop again, August 14th, just to get that in your brain. August 14th for Free Comic Book Day, and you can pick up Bountiful Garden. So one last thing for you guys, where can people find out more information about Mad Cave Studios, website, social media? Where can they find you guys?
Twitter is literally like where we're probably most active. It's at Mad Cave Studios, simple as that. There you'll find us tweet about or upcoming new titles, some new variants we have, new printings, and literally every news from Mad Cave. Just follow our Twitter, you'll find out. And you can also check out our website, madcavestudios.com.
Yeah, it's updated regularly.
Mm-hmm. It's also a nice website too. I actually was looking at that website. I was like, I want to steal some ideas from there.
Thank you. You wouldn't be the first.
I'm a big fan of Beckstar, and so I cannot recommend that book enough. I actually got to hang out with Joe Corallo, the writer of that book, on a stream not too long ago, and got to interview the artist for that book. So I'm knee deep in that book. I'm all about it. It's like a cool little sci-fi comic that you guys are currently putting out, and it's got cool artwork too. I just love the way the art looks in that book as well. And Joe's a really cool artist too, so a really cool writer as well. So definitely check that out. We're also going to put you guys on to Nottingham in a little bit, but Ashton, let's talk a little bit about. Sorry, guys, we're going to talk about another publisher, for a second. Let's talk a little bit about. They do exist. Let's talk a little bit about Dark Horse Comics' Black Hammer plans. What's going on over there?
Yeah, definitely. So Dark Horse and the world of Black Hammer are expanding this year with this meta team superhero saga taking place between two worlds in their new title called The Unbelievable Unteams. So it'll be written by, of course, Black Hammer co-creator Jeff Lemire, illustrated by a returning Black Hammer artist, Tyler Crook. So The Unbelievable Unteams spins a genre-bending origin story for a brand new superhero team in this beloved world. So give you a bit of a look at kind of what you're getting here. So after signing at a comic book convention, The Unbelievable Unteams artist Jane Ito finds herself visited by one of the characters from her own creation. But she can't tell if it was her own creation or if the Unteens were an actual school of teenage misfit superheroes battling supervillains. And if so, if they're real, why can they not remember anything? So her entire world is turned upside down as she tries to balance, reality and creation and learn the true identity of this plot, leading to assemble a team she had suspected was purely fictional. So you can get The Unbelievable Unteens #1 at your local comic shop on August 11th, and it's part of a 4-issue miniseries.
All right, cool. I know people love Jeff Lemire, and on top of that, people love the Black Hammer series. Are you guys fans of either one of those things, or?
I haven't read Black Hammer, but I am a fan of Lemire. I've read several of his other books.
Cool.
I am a big fan of Lemire. Read I'm going to say most or all of his work, but I mean a large amount for sure. Big fan of Sweet Tooth. Excited to see that trailer that came out the other day.
Yeah. Wasn't that trailer was actually pretty impressive, I thought. I remember when the comic came out in comic shops, and I was just kind of like, I'll get to it later, and never did. And then finally, I saw the trailer, I was like, oh damn, I feel like I missed out. This actually looks pretty interesting.
It's definitely worth a read. It's not too long. I think it's like 30-some issues.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm also a big fan of Black Hammer. I have both the library editions, the hardcovers. I've only read the first one, so it's like 10 to 12 issues. But I love the world he built. I love the characters. They're all relatable. And they all have a big element of humanity in them. It's a really interesting series, and I'd love to see his take on superheroes like that.
Yeah. No, it's a fully fleshed out superhero universe too, which I think people really gravitated towards that initially, and he's put a lot of thought into it. And it's kind of impressive that he doesn't write all the books, but he definitely kind of has a hand in most of them, and writes a good chunk of them too. So yeah, definitely check it out. That's coming from Dark Horse Comics in the coming months, and keep an eye on PREVIEWSworld. Because you will be able to pre-order directly starting June 7th. I'm going to keep hitting that. Speaking of writers that everybody knows and loves, right? Neil Gaiman. Look, here's my thing, right? Manny and I think it was Manny and I, or maybe it was Chris, who was saying I've never read Sandman before. I've read 6 issues, and then I was kind of like, okay, it's cool, it's good. I just never had time to kind of complete it. Seems to be a theme with this show for me. Yeah, people were kind of upset about the casting for the new Sandman series on Netflix, and people jumped in there and decided to vent to Neil Gaiman himself on Twitter, which is, just
a bad idea.
Yeah, it's kind of tacky. Like, let's be honest about that. But I wanted to get this up here. Johnny, did you censor this tweet yet? Okay, good. So, so here we go, right? Like, people are like, I definitely have seen this kind of like sporadically throughout the internet. For the most part, a lot of people, like an overwhelming amount of people, are just happy to get a Sandman TV show, right? The book has a huge cult following, but there's a handful of people who definitely just feel the need to complain about this, and they want to get into these debates about culture war and all this other stuff, right? And so Neil Gaiman had the best. I hate that I'm about to say this. The best clapback, the best clapback ever. Johnny, if you can throw it back up. Sorry about that. Basically, in internet parlance, someone accused him of not giving an F. And Neil Gaiman surprisingly goes, I give all the F's about the work. I spent 30 years successfully battling bad movies of Sandman, which is 100% true. I give 0 F's about people who don't understand, haven't read Sandman, whining about a non-binary desire, or the deaf isn't white enough. Watch the show, make up your minds. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because I feel like that's everything, right? Like, just look. Just wait and watch before you start complaining about it. I feel like there's just way too much of that preemptive complaining about what people think is going to happen. Particularly when it comes to comic books and comic book properties. And it's just sort of like, it could be bad, but it could be good, right?
Yeah, I also kind of feel like there's this weird, like, selective application of inclusivity, right? Like, the first thing I thought of when we talked about this yesterday, Troy, is like, everyone was really hype about the idea of Idris Elba being James Bond. James Bond's always been white, but that didn't seem to bother anybody, and people seemed actually kind of excited about him maybe taking on that role, but that didn't happen with this Sandman thing, so I think that's really weird and not productive.
Well, you got a laugh track going on over there. I get that. I totally understand that. Like, it's, the internet is, the internet puts us in little silos, right? And so, like, we kind of have to be aware of the fact that, what we consider to be a popular opinion isn't always a popular opinion. This just happens to be our little silo. But yeah, I just thought it was really good on Neil Gaiman for, just tackling it head on. I know some people will be like, oh, that's tacky and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Like, it's Neil Gaiman. Who cares? Like, let him. Like, he's earned the right to, like, pop off on the internet if he wants to. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about this, Manny or Chris, but I can give you the floor if you want to.
No, I'm with you guys. Honestly, I agree with everything I just said.
It's as easy as that. I mean, Neil Gaiman, he can say what he wants, and you know what? Watch the show, decide for yourself. I doubt the show is going to be good or bad based on those castings. I think we're lucky to be getting the show, and excited, man. I'm excited. I think people should watch the show or read the books before making any kind of assumption.
Right. Well, I think that's also the other big thing, and something he definitely pointed out is, like, I think a lot of times with these arguments is, you weren't going to read the book anyway or watch the show. So why are we having this argument? So, okay, cool. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna drop it. Let's get back to the positive stuff, right? We're going to show you guys a trailer for Nottingham. This is actually really cool. And so I want you guys to check this out. This is an interesting spin on the Robin Hood mythos. And this is from Mad Cave Studios. And then we come back, maybe you guys can tell us a little bit more about it. Check this out. Here's a trailer for Nottingham from Mad Cave Studios. First of all, dope trailer. Just want to point that out. Like, yeah,
Thank you.
you guys got some nice trailers, man. That was a very nice trailer. Yeah, I think this book is actually really cool, and like I like how it's very dark and not necessarily like I know some people joke when they think of Robin Hood, they think of the Disney Fox movie, the cartoon, right? But this is actually pretty, right. It's either that or Kevin Costner. That's kind of like how my brain works anyway. But like, never think about the actual books themselves. But what can you guys tell us a little bit more about Nottingham?
Oh man! Every time I talk about Nottingham to people, I always get like fanboy a lot. Like, is this one of those? Is this literally one of my favorite Mad Cave titles from us? And it's just literally like it's like a noir take on Robin Hood mythos, and a lot more historically accurate. It's written by a talent search winner, David Hazan, and when he got like pitched his book, he really kind of wanted to ground Robin Hood in the best way possible, and him with the artist Shane Volk came up with this like rad story. Like it's almost like what if Robin Hood was metal, you know? That's what it is.
Yeah,
and it doesn't shy away from the violence. And there's the lines between good and bad are a little gray. There's a lot of gray areas in this book, and it's fun to explore that.
No, I definitely picked up on that. Like, the merry men seem a little sinister, like, in this story, which is actually pretty interesting. And also I noticed like the book is going back to, it looks like some of the issues are going back to second printings, right? So it's very popular.
Yeah, we've been really happy with the demand of the book. It's really it humbles us really because we work really hard, and to see this happen to a book like Manny mentioned from two talent search winners, David and Shane, it's really it feels like something that doesn't happen too often. Two guys making their first book, and it really blows up. So we're really happy about that. We're just getting by and meeting demand. So make sure if you guys have that book ordered, don't worry, you're getting your copies. But we're really excited to see this and to see where the series goes from here.
Yeah, and if you guys are missing out, the Nottingham #1 third printing is dropping June 16th. So actually about 2 weeks from now. And there's also a fourth printing coming because yes, the book is that popular in July. And then there's a trade paperback that's dropping October 6th. So definitely check it out, especially if you're a fan of, we just talked about Neil Gaiman and Sandman and whatnot. I feel like this kind of falls in that sorcery category, like maybe fantasy, but with also like a noir take on it. So definitely check that out from Mad Cave Studios. It actually looks really cool. All right, let's do some Social Swamp. Ready, Ashton? All right, let's jump in here. We're gonna get the nitty gritty. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, it's the top 5. Social Swamp top 5. Johnny just corrected it, but it's the same thing. Let's go for it.
Okay. You ever think how weird it is? We just sit on here and say whatever we want to say. Half the time we're not even right.
Oh wait, did I say something wrong? What did I stumble across?
You're like, Social Swamp top 5. It's all the same. Whatever.
It's all the same. That's the beauty. I mean, look, that's the beauty of being live. That's actually one of the things I love about it. Is like, look, we just roll with the punches.
We'll get there eventually. Okay, yeah. So top 5. We've asked you guys to give us your top 5. Nerdy, whatever. It can be comic books, movies, video games, nerd adjacent. You tell us what it is and we'll talk about it. So let's dive in and see what your top 5 favorite whatevers were. Nancy says sci-fi that doesn't take itself too seriously. Very specific. 5 is V, 14 is Warehouse 13, 3 is Resident Alien, 2 is The Fifth Element, and at number 1, Firefly.
Okay.
Erica says top 5 from X-Men series. 5 is Magic, 4 is Mr. Sinister, 3 is Mojo, 2 is Sabretooth, and 1 is Gambit.
Interesting. I guess I'm assuming that's the animated series. I'm assuming.
Sure. Like I've said before, my favorite thing is when people just like give us lists, like 9 different lists. They're just like, here's my 5, whatever. James says top 5 comic storylines, miniseries, or graphic novels. 5 is The Killing Joke, 4 The Watchmen, 3 Secret Wars, 2 Civil War, and 1 Days of Future Past.
It's a respectable list.
Noy says nerdy music. 5 is blibbering hummingbirds. 4 is Tom Smith. 3 is Mark Gunn. 2 is Devo Spice, and 1 is Luke Ski.
I have no idea what any of those are, but okay.
Nope. Just gonna keep it pushing. Ryan says top 5 D-list DC villains. 5 is Mantis. 4 is Kanto. 3 is Copperhead. 2 is Changzu, and 1 is Vermin Wunderbar.
I love the word. I love saying Wunderbar.
Oh God.
This is brilliant.
This is top 5 secrets of invisibility.
Best one yet.
That is the best
Right?
one. That is you won the day. Like, sir, good job. I actually was hoping that Johnny would catch that and like it would and use it. So awesome. So guys, you're our special guest this week. What top 5s can you give us? Are you going to give us some hot takes? You're going to give us some books we should pick up? What you got?
So I'm going to do the safe route and do the top 5 Mackie titles, at least my personal favorite Mackie titles. I think everyone should check out. And the first one we already mentioned earlier is Nottingham.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I fanboy every time I talk about that. But then I would say Stargazer, which is it's one of our sci-fi books. Then I would say Beckstar, another sci-fi book of ours.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd say Wovenheart, which is actually like Wovenheart's interesting. That's like a time-traveling Victorian Monster Hunter series. So it's really, really fun. And the last one, I would say Savage Bastards, which is our Western. And if you like Nottingham, you'll definitely like Savage Bastards.
Awesome. I also love that name. What about you, Chris? What's your top 5?
I'm gonna go with a fun route, and I thought to myself, I was like, what can I speak definitively on? So I came to the conclusion that it's the top 5 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Oh,
now,
excellent.
this is
I love it.
my list. Don't at me, guys. This is my personal list. So number 5, I'm gonna start with a little strange one. It's Jingle All the Way. It's a Christmas movie.
Okay.
It's from the mid to late 90s. Basically, it's Arnold trying to get a toy, like the hottest new toy of the season for his son. And the late, great Phil Hartman's in it, playing like the neighbor trying to swoop in on his wife.
Right.
There it is. It's a great movie, classic.
I love it. I love that also you left out the best part. It's Sinbad versus Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right. He plays the postman. Who's trying to he's the foil. Great movie.
I saw this in the theater, so yes, cosign.
Love it. Number 4, I'm gonna go with Pumping Iron. It's just really cool to see them in their natural state. That's if you're not familiar, it's like the documentary about basically weightlifting, and it focuses on Arnold. It's actually really funny. Just fun to watch. It's what can I tell you? They're pumping iron in the 70s, and Arnold is totally unfiltered. It's great.
He really is.
Oh my God.
He says some pretty wild things in that documentary.
Yeah, he says some crazy stuff. 3, I'm going Total Recall. You just can't argue with the director and how weird it is. It's something that you see it, and there's so many scenes that just play over and over in your mind. Like when he transforms from when he's disguised as that lady going through the airport or whatever. That's just sticks with me forever. 2, I'm going Predator.
Nice.
I mean, another iconic movie. How can you go wrong? Everybody knows Predator. It's millions of sequels. And then 1, I'm semi-cheating. I'm just splitting Terminator 1 and 2. Can't really separate them. He plays different versions, but I think he was born to play the Terminator. It's my personal favorite movie. 2, that is. And honorable mention, Kindergarten Cop.
Those are all great, man. I appreciate it. I respect the Arnold love. I am such an Arnold Schwarzenegger fanboy.
Awesome.
I'm disappointed. No Last Action Hero. That doesn't make the list.
It's there. I looked at it. I was scrolling through, and I was like, oh, I like the Last Action Hero, but I just couldn't bring myself to put it above Jingle All the Way.
You know what? No shame here. You know what? We always say on the show, like what you like, so respect. If you love Jingle All the Way, that's all good. It's quite all right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for enlightening us with some Schwarzenegger and some Mad Cave Studios books. That's really awesome. I love that. This is why we do it, because we just don't know what people are going to say. So it's always interesting to kind of find out. I feel like we're getting a window into people's obsessions. a little bit.
Do you like here a couple weeks ago, someone came on here and did like top 5 WWE finishing moves, and it was so specific.
It was, yes. Oh no, it was interesting. It was interesting. It was even more specific now. It was interesting.
Specifically.
Right. And it wasn't at all what you'd expect. Like it was really wild. Like it was great. That's what I love about this. Yeah, we get to get a little insight into everybody's fandoms, I guess you could say, right? Man, we're like breezing through this episode. We're 36 minutes. We're almost at the end. Ashton, what is this week's poll?
All right, this week's poll is very topical because Troy and Johnny have been very complainy since the cicadas emerged 2 weeks ago. So we're settling this. Like I told you guys on the Free Comic Book Day page, it might not land depending on where you are in the country, but right now, in the East and into the Midwest in the U.S., there is a real cicada situation taking place. So I asked you guys, what sound is more deafening between Banshee from the X-Men and these dang cicadas taking over our lives? Which we discovered before the show kicked off that Florida is too far south, so I guess that kind of disqualifies them from even caring how loud a cicada is.
Okay. Is that where Matt Cave is located? Is in Florida?
Yeah, Miami, Florida.
Yeah, South Florida. But I know those dang cicadas well.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so you're fortunate. So I guess, all right, we can't really leave it up to you guys unless you want to chime in just for the heck of chiming in. I mean, Chris, you said you were familiar. Like, where would you fall on this?
I mean, what is louder? I would have to go more deafening. I would say at the end of the day, probably Banshee. But the amount of time those cicadas like sing for or whatever, yell for is just, God, exhausting.
Right.
What it is.
All right, Johnny, let's see here. Like, let's give it up for Banshee. Let's select Banshee and see where the poll falls here.
Well, first of all, I want to say that, like, if this was being rated on an annoyance factor, the cicadas would definitely win. But since we're going with the sound factor, like, I went into the home office today, and I must have gotten dive bombed by those things at least 5 times. I'm like,
they really do fly around like toddlers. Like, they have no clue how to use their wings, and they just, like, crash into stuff.
Crash into things. And it's really disconcerting, too.
Like, I mean, they are only 2 weeks old. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah. No, I decided to walk around, like, this morning, like go for a walk, and yeah, just getting like it's just like this weird thud up against the like side of my leg. And I was like, oh man, these freaking cicadas. I hate cicadas. Hate them. I used to work at a comic shop, and I swear to you, this was back in the first, the last 17 years ago. I can't do math right now. And like I was finding wings and shells in that comic shop for like about a solid year after they had already gone back into the ground. So to hell with cicadas. That's my point.
You're giving me a great idea, Tori. I think I'm going to start stockpiling dead cicada bodies and just drop them all over the office. Just to freak you out. No, anyway. So what are we going with? We going with Banshee?
Yeah, Banshee. According to Chris is the insider.
Oh, surprisingly close.
Wow.
51.7%, and then 48.3% the cicadas.
Interesting. Manny, is this just you voting over and over again and trolling us from Florida?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you have no proof. Okay, man, that's really close. All right. Interesting. I would probably go with cicadas personally, but my annoyance factor is pretty high with them right now, so a little bias. All right, comic shop shout out time. Ashton, what we got?
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Comics Unlimited in Cleveland, Tennessee, and it comes from our friend Dennis Allen. He says that they are very friendly, have a large selection, and they do live sales every Friday from 9 to 11 Eastern time. So we will show you some photos from Comics Unlimited at the end of the show. If you want us to shout out your local comic shop on the show, find us on social media, tag your shop. If they don't have a handle, just leave their name, and use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS, and we will find your shop and shout them out on the show and give them some love.
All right. And that's about it for this show, man. Wow. We breezed through this one, guys. You guys are giving the lightning fast answers. You guys were prepared.
Right.
Ashton and I just stumbled through the
We're easy.
there you go. Ashton and I just stumbled through the hour, and then it ends up taking like an additional 10 minutes or whatever. So, but thank you guys. Thank you for being so succinct. Yeah, we're gonna actually thank you, Johnny. Thank you for reminding me one more time for those who were late to the party or those who were just hard of hearing. What is your social media, and like how can we find you guys? Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Love it.
So you can find
is. Oh, sorry.
You go. I go.
Go for it.
All right. So you can find Mad Cave on Twitter at Mad Cave Studios. You can visit our website, madcavestudios.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Manny_Castell. It's 2 L's. Mm-hmm. And I'm always just talking nerd stuff on there.
All right.
Yeah. And if you like that trailer, there's plenty more on YouTube. Oh, you can follow me on Twitter at CFernandez325.
All right. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Manny, you missed an opportunity not calling yourself Manny Fresh on Twitter, but okay, I'll let it go. I'll drop it.
We'll forgive you this time. Just this one.
Thank you. I'll remember this for next time I see you guys.
Next time you start social media, I want to see Manny Fresh. You don't get a follow until then. I'm just kidding. But there you go, YouTube. That's where we got our Nottingham trailer from Mad Cave Studios, and they're really good about keeping this updated. I know some of our publishers are like, we'll get to it when we want to, but Mad Cave Studios, they're on the ball, guys. They're on top of things. They're doing a dynamite job. So definitely give them a subscribe to them on YouTube, and also follow, subscribe to us as well. And also keep an eye out for Pullbox on June 7th. Thank you very much for joining us. You know what? Also, I want to remind you guys, there's an article that was way popular this weekend that we dropped. Anna Mia's got it covered. She did a cover for the Betty Page and the Curse of the Banshees from Dynamite Comics, and she gave us a rundown of her just basically how she put together this photo shoot. No question why it was popular, but I'm a little jealous. You think if I do the same thing, I would get the number of views that we got? Probably not. Also, speaking of Anna Mia, actually, tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern, she's going to be hosting the panel, and she's going to talk about Loki, Agent of Asgard, and Asberg as place, and he's going to be. Nobody got that joke, but it's on the panel. They're going to talk about Loki and Agent of Asgard, which is by Lee Garbey and Al Ewing. Definitely a fan favorite run, and she's going to have Sharon Rose cosplay on there, and also she's going to have the founder of Ocean City Comic Con and one of the writers at PLB Comics as well. Should be a fun conversation. Definitely a jubilant group of people to join that panel tomorrow, and. That's it for Previews World Weekly, guys. Thank you very much. Ashton, why are you making that face? What's going on here?
It's for jubilant, which is
I don't know.
And I'm just really proud of you for reaching for that word.
I worked it in. I made it happen. I don't know why that was on my mind, but I made it happen. Anyway, Chris, Manny, thank you I knew that's exactly what you were laughing at too. Chris, Manny, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Guys, be sure to check out Mad Cave Studios, and that's it for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And we'll catch you guys at the spinner rack. Catch you later.
Don't forget that you can catch Previews World Weekly streaming live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific at Previews World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.